live back to Ottawa right now. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, is speaking about Trump. Let's listen in here.
And we both agreed on meeting next week, so I'll be heading to Washington next week to meet with Marco Rubio and to further the conversations. Of course, in the context of that meeting next week and that trip next week, I will be meeting other key Republican senators. This will be my 5th visit to the U.S. and meeting the Trump administration since the election. So the work continues. Juste en français, notre dialogue avec les Américains se poursuit.
Our dialogue with the Americans is continuing. Yesterday, I had an initial call with the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I already had the opportunity to meet with him in December, and I hadn't spoken about that, but it's important because I wanted to make an introduction to him. I, of course, brought up our bilateral relationship and the potential tariffs against Canada. Of course, I defended our cause, and I emphasized how it would have an impact as well on jobs in the U.S., and that it would hurt Americans as well. I also told him that we would participate in the process that was announced by President Trump last Monday, and we made an agreement to be meeting next week, and I will be going to Washington next week, where I will also meet with other influential Republican senators. This is going to be my 5th time going to the U.S., meeting with the Trump administration since the elections, and I'll take questions.
Of the split among premiers who disagree with the federal government's strategy, Smith and Moe, who speaks for Canada in all of this? Are you concerned that now you have 2 provinces pretty much offside?
Well, I think it is a moment of unity. I think Canadians have no time for partisanship right now. They just want us to be united. They just want us to make sure that we are there to defend Canadian jobs. There's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of fear. And so it is time for political leaders, may you be NDP, may you be Conservative, may you be Liberal or Bloc, to work as one. And I think that when it comes also to some premiers, what I've seen based on my conversations with them has been we want to be constructive. We understand that Alberta jobs are important, as Ontario jobs, as Quebec jobs. It's not a competition. We can all work together to make sure that ultimately we face together this existential threat against our economy and against workers.
Are Americans confused by the mixed messages that they're getting from Canada?
What I'm seeing in Washington is that not a lot of people are aware of tariffs, and Canadian tariffs in particular. I think that, we think a lot about the U.S. The U.S. doesn't think necessarily about Canada that much. And a lot of things are happening right now in Washington. President Trump is signing many, many different executive orders. Lots of things are still in transition. The Secretary of Commerce is not even confirmed yet. The only member of the administration that is working on this file that has been confirmed is Marco Rubio. And so we will be continuing to work with him.
What did Mr. Rubio say to you when you mentioned that if you hit us with tariffs, we're going to respond and it's going to affect U.S. consumers?
Well, he understands that not only this will have an impact on Americans, but this will have an impact on how the U.S. engaged in the world.
With their friends.
And that will have an impact geopolitically. He's the Secretary of State. He's in charge of having lots of relations with many countries around the world. I also talked about the importance of standing up against China together. And Rubio himself has been very hawkish against China. So I think that we have a good interlocutor to be able at least to talk to and to be constructive with. That's my job as the top diplomat in the country, to make sure that I create these relationships. And we now have a process, and the process is clearly highlighted by the executive order. There will be lots of rhetoric. We will hear a lot of different versions coming from south of the border. We need to put our head down, we need to be united, and we need to defend Canadian jobs.
When did you speak with Mr. Rubio? Since you spoke about dealing with China, for example, did you sense any receptiveness as regards what they need from Canada? and doing
je pense
something.
que, Marco Rubio est un
I think that
politicien
Marco
d'expérience,
Rubio
qui a été capable de faire l'unanimité dans
is
sa
a good
consommation
politician who can create
99
unanimity in
sénateurs
his
qui
party.
ont soutenu sa confirmation.
90 senators confirmed his
c'est une
appointment
personne avec qui je
versus
peux
zero.
avoir
And so this is
une
someone who I can have
peut
conversations
certainement
with.
être ouvert aux nouvelles
He's
idées,
someone who
être
can be
ouvert
open to
aux
new
activités à
ideas
partenariat gagnant-gagnant
and
maintenant.
open to finding a
Il n'est pas la
win-win
seule
partnership
personne
now.
dans l'équation, on
He's
le
not the
sait.
only person
Et
in the
donc, mon travail
equation,
va
we
être
know,
avec lui,
but my job will be
travailler
to
avec
work
le
with him,
secrétaire au commerce,
to work
qui
with
n'est
the
pas
Trade
encore
Secretary
confirmé,
as well,
le
who
contrat
has
avec
not
mon
yet
collègue
been
Leblanc, et
confirmed,
de travailler avec
and
un
who will be
représentant.
working together with my colleague Minister LeBlanc and the White House.
When it comes to Bill 21, I'll talk to you about my own position. My own position.
Right, or supporting him?
Well, my job right now is to take care of the Canada-US relationship. And when it comes to Mr. Carney, I have a lot of respect, and I've endorsed him, and I've sent a clear message to my base and to my organizers and to my volunteers to send a signal. But folks, I've told you, I'm not running in the leadership campaign because I need to take care of the Canada-US relationship. And trust me, this is taking full time of my agenda. Now, when it comes to Bill 21, to your question, no surprise, I'm against it. I've said that years ago when the legislation came up. And I've been also clear on it. When it comes to the Supreme Court of Canada, if the Supreme Court was going to hear the case, we would be intervening. And again, they just said that they would be hearing the case, so no surprise, we will be intervening. En français, mais il n'y a pas de surprise.
French?
Moi, je suis contre la loi 21.
There's no
Je l'ai dit à
surprise.
plusieurs reprises. Donc, les gens
I've
de ces
said several
quartiers,
times
les gens
about Bill
à travers
21 that I
Québec
support it,
sont
and so
surpris par
people
rapport à
working
ça.
across Quebec are aware of my
On a aussi dit
position.
que si la cause allait aller en Cour suprême, on
It's
allait
also been
intervenir.
said that if the
Alors, encore
case
une fois,
goes to Supreme Court, then we will intervene. And again, no surprise.
Behind Mark Carney and not your former deputy prime minister.
It was a difficult choice. I have a lot of respect for all three candidates. I thought that it was important because of the threat that we're facing when it comes to the U.S. tariffs, that we have somebody that has been able to weather big crises such as the 2008 crisis and also the Brexit crisis. It is not only dealing with Trump, it is also to have a vision for the economy, to support Canadian workers across the country, and to protect livelihoods, and that's why he has my
Last question. Freeland guided Canada through the first NAFTA renegotiations and also was the finance minister for several years. Are you saying she doesn't have what it takes to guide Canada through the next Trump administration and have a vision for the economy?
I think she did a great job during CUSMA, and I've had a lot of I have a lot of respect for my colleague Freeland, and I really hope that we can continue to work together as we are all working on making sure that we can weather the storm that is coming from the U.S.
Thank you for the 5%.